What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Centre Bounce. It is the drive home. We've got Damo on today. Joe, the naughty boy Joe Essendon, the AFL is corruption. They've decided to put Essendon's game on a Thursday, which means Joe is off watching the AFL instead of being on our show. So, Damo, how you going, mate? Thanks for covering.
That's all right. Big shoes to fill. We all know that everyone loves Joe, so hopefully I can fill the shoes nicely.
Hey, I've got Super Coach Insider here. Damo is royalty. Watch out, mate. You got some big fans yourself there.
I don't know why, but it's nice to be loved.
Fair enough. As I try and fix up my camera. There we go. How you going, Michael? Hey, guys and girls. Seems to be a few rookies on debut this round. Yeah, who have we got so far, Damo? We've got Trevalliers coming. Is there anyone else on the list?
There's Tom Cochrane at Port Adelaide, Sardell Hawley at Essendon. I don't know if anyone else has actually been announced yet. I know there's a few guys that people are suggesting may come in, but those are the only three officially announced as far as I can recall.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think about it in terms of Supercoach, and it's almost like a lot of us are upgrading, or at least I'm considering upgrading like a Kako to a Lindsay or people getting rid of Hewitt, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, maybe you don't have to, because there's all these almost sideways / downgrade options where these guys that started in round one, hey, when round 6 comes around, they're going to be okay downgrade options. Even guys like Clay Hall and Bice next week.
Yeah, for sure. There's rookies coming around the corner, and everyone's jumping on Connor O'Sullivan this week, but we've now got Sardell Hawley and Toby Trevallier potentially down the line that might be better options with better job security.
Well, and Bice too. I mean, I don't know who the options for Sydney are next week, but Bice has got a 55 from 40% game time and then a 90 almost. So
him as well.
To jump straight in, right?
Yeah, for sure. So we don't need to fix every line with all the good rookies this week. There's some coming just around the corner.
Velo, how you doing, Velo? Good evening, Big J and Damo. There you go. Michael says, afternoon legends, depending on team sheets, going Sinclair, Clark, and Lindsay in. Day Short and Perryman out. Thoughts on that?
I don't mind. I think Perryman has to go. I think that's right.
Yep.
I don't mind Short going out. I don't know about Day. I don't think he is a must trade, but he's bringing in some really nice players there to shore up his defense, and Xavier Lindsay is a rookie you must have. So maybe it works out in the end to do that trade after all.
Yeah, it really does feel, and this is the problem that I'm having with my team at the moment, because I just don't have enough rookie spaces in my team. It really does feel like if you went 4 midfield primos, you would be in such a better place than the people now who have gone 5 midfield primos, right? A lot of people have jumped off a Day. I mean, Skodfather's jumped off Chera and Day. Maybe Chera's kind of an afterthought there, but really does feel like, hey, if you had that extra midfield rookie and put that money in the defense, you'd be doing a lot better at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as what people are making it out to be. I think the way that your team starts isn't totally isn't totally reliant on how your season goes. I think trading and managing your team along the way is what sets your team up and what gets your team into a winning position. So I don't know if starting structure is what has separated people or what will separate people in the end, but definitely early days. It feels like the people who went a bit heavier in defense are getting off to a better start than most, but that could all change in a few weeks.
Definitely. Corey, legends, how are we? I'm doing well. Assume you're doing well, Damo, as well. It's nice. What's your opinion on Thursday night footy? Because I've had some contradictions at the moment saying, hey, Thursday night obviously screws up Supercoach a little bit. Maybe they're taking away a few games from the weekend. I've heard some people say, yeah, I love Thursday night footy. Do you think it's too much? Like, have we kind of gone full circle and said, I want Thursdays to now being like, hey, I wish it was just Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
I love Thursday night footy.
Yeah.
Only because, especially when there is a couple of teams on the bye, which we'll probably find once Tassie joins the comp, no one wants overlap in their fixture.
Yep.
We've seen that this week. There's 2 games on Saturday at the same time because it's the rescheduled round 0 game. But last week there were no games with any overlap or very little overlap. And I think that's what people want. And having a Thursday game means you don't have to fit another game in over the weekend. And it probably helps the broadcasters too.
Yep. Yeah, no, that's fair. It gives you something else. You don't have to watch reruns of some 1980s movie or, I don't know even what's on TV these days, but yeah, it's a bit rough there. Supercoach God, Flynn better get picked. Yo, Damo. I'm not sure about the Flynn. I think BJ Williams just had the cramp. 100% I could see Flynn on extended bench and then sucking a few people in this week.
Scary quotes from Andrew McQualter. There's going to be a ruck competition every week, and then whoever wins the ruck competition is going to lead the ruck in that round. So, we had Matt Flynn in round 1, Bailey Williams against the Lions before he got subbed out with full body cramps. And then it was Ruben Jinby for a lot of the rest of the game. Maybe Ruben Jinby wins the ruck comp and he's a ruckman.
Potentially, right? I mean, they could do a Carlton and put Paddy Cripps equivalent in there. So we'll see what happens. Rookie coach, Damo, I think I've cracked the code for trades this week, mate. I have not cracked the code for trades. I'm still really stuck. I had Connor O'Sullivan, but I think I may try and get Bison, but it messes up all my plans. Hate Tom Stewart. He's never again. Maybe at 300K, but I hate his guts. I think I've cracked the codes this week. Pez to Fridge, Stu to Sinclair, and Foster Hendo. Means I can definitely get Baz next week. Do we think Baz plays, or is Chris Scott a little bit on the cusp of, hey, him and Stewart will fly in, but maybe they won't play?
So I was looking at a AFL.com article today, and the headline was Smith a lock for Lions clash, Cats bullish on star defender.
Okay. So Baz is locked in then.
Baz is locked in. Geelong coach Chris Scott has declared star recruit Bailey Smith a lock to return for the Cats. Blockbuster against Brisbane.
How well do you think he goes against Brisbane?
I have no idea.
That's the tricky part. Hey, it's like Brisbane's a pretty tough outfit. And does he get subbed halfway through the game because it's just like, he's not at full capacity? Yeah,
it would be the most Chris Scott thing to sub out Bailey Smith.
Yeah, it'd be pretty funny. Joe had one choice and he picked wrong. There you go. Sean Baker, g'day, Big J and Damo. How's everyone going, mate? We are fantastic. It'll be a long season for you on the podcast if he isn't. Yeah, there you go. Supercoach God. Better hope Flynn is named. Otherwise, it's going to be interesting. I guess kind of last year, well, maybe not last year. Let's pretend 2 years ago when we didn't have best 18 for the first start of the season. This kind of pick would be atrocious. But if you had like Bailey Dale or Clark or Zorko or Whitfield instead of, the money going into Flynn, you'd be okay scoring-wise because it just means, cool, for yourself, it's best 22 and then your worst 4 scores versus, potentially kind of game-ending for right now, hey?
Yeah, for sure. I think we've benefited greatly from having best 18 and, as much as we hate round 0, everyone loves the best 18 early in the season because it saves you from all the poor rookie scores in the rookie lottery from not knowing who to put on field.
It's interesting too because I think retention has always been a huge thing with Supercoach, like people just falling off and whatnot. And if a lot of us had Stewart on field and a couple of other players last year or the year before the flex came in, there'd be so many just random people that'd be like, yep, I got a poor score. I'm now 300 points behind. Well, that's it, right? See you next year. There's no point me even playing. So it's a good situation to be in.
Yeah, for sure. But people need to remember that Supercoach is a long game. It's not just 2 rounds or 3 rounds of the year. It's 24 rounds. And some people don't really reach, the heights where they want to be until after the bye rounds. And that's when they come flying home. So I think you just got to stick it out a lot of the time and try and manage your team best you can. You've got 40 trades these days to fix whatever it is you need to fix. And the bye rounds, you can potentially use 4 trades each week if you keep your boosts that long. So just keep plugging along, keep fixing your team or managing your team the best you can, and hopefully you can fly home and finish with a respectable rank.
There you go. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have picked Flynn if it wasn't best 18 for rounds 2 and 4. Yeah, 100% there.
There's a few players in that sort of boat, isn't there? Flynn's definitely one of the main ones, but there were people that picked Harry Perryman for that exact reason. I think and then there were people who picked most of the time. People were selling themselves on Will Day because once the Hawks get to their early season bye, you could make a decision whether you wanted to keep him or not. And it seems like most aren't really happy with what is produced in season, so he might be another one that is what owning him through best 18 is probably one of the benefits as well.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky when it was one of the reasons why I decided to go Chera and Callaghan over Day was just that early buy run. That early run. I think up until about round 6 or 7, he's basically got a tag every week. And this week, I'm hoping Bedford will go to him, kind of nullify players a little bit. But it ends up being, as you say, who's got the better rookie on field. A lot of us had Stewart. A lot of us had Trainer. Who else did I have that was poor? Zach Reed. I had Kako on field as well. And best 18 was great, but, miss out on I get a few 50s when I probably shouldn't have. So it doesn't work out that well. Let's go down this. Clowns SC, how you doing, mate? Do I need Nevitt or Henderson? Currently have defensive Reed, Trainer, Allen. Wow, okay. Mid O'Driscoll, Hewitt, Campo, Reed, Ashcroft, Sardis, Lindsay, forward Powell, Kako, Powell, Patton, and Davidson. I think your defense is probably the weakest position there, just for the fact that you don't really have much in terms of cash gen at the moment. So it's really tough. Like, you have to throw some money, even if you go Bo Allen to Bice next week. But Nevitt or Henderson, both probably decent enough job security, Damo. Nevitt maybe could be the little bit of the less consistent scorer. Just because Henderson, I think Nevitt feels a little bit too one-dimensional, you might say.
I think Nevitt and Henderson. I think Nevitt's probably above Henderson in who you need in terms of job security.
Okay.
And scoring would be fairly similar. Henderson's scoring might take a hit once Melbourne get some players return like Pickett. So I think Nevitt's the guy that you probably need to target out of those two. And I can see the move automatically. You probably want to get rid of Patton in your forward line, move Hewitt into your forward line, and then that's how you make the room there.
Nice. There you go. Hopefully you've got the extra 20-odd K to be able to make it happen. If B. Smith is picked, should I pick him over Callaghan, or can I wait a week for him? I would 100% say wait. Callaghan has a break-even of 0. So if he scores 100, he's going up 48K, which means that he could be unobtainable very, very quickly, whereas Bads is still 400K. And I think even just the, not job security, but injury security is probably a big thing. Just being like, hey, what's going to happen? We don't know. Baz could come out. He scored 140 in his first week, Damo. As we've spoke about before, Chris Scott's like, yep, cool. We're just going to ease him in his best 22, but we don't really need to, do too much with him. Cool, that's it. So it's a bit tricky. You'd rather go for the sure thing versus the, hey, you could play 3 quarters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you summed it up there. Callaghan's going up in price this week. Bailey Smith has another week before his price moves. So grab Callaghan now, wait for Bailey Smith, and just make sure that round 1 wasn't a flash in the pan. But there's really great footage, a really great segment a few weeks ago of Adam Simpson talking about Bailey Smith as a transition mid compared to a defensive mid or an attacking mid, and
Yep.
that footage just makes me really confident that Bailey Smith's 147 probably won't be a flash in the pan. We might see a few more of those scores throughout the year, making him a really nice selection. But I think I have more faith in Callaghan over a few of these other mid-price guys that people are jumping on. But and he's going to go up in price this week, so now's the time if you believe like me.
Do you think there's a world? Obviously, we've still got Butters, we've still got Bond, and a couple of others to come back. Is there a world where we end up keeping Callaghan the whole season?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if he ends up as your M8, M9 that you loop on or off the field, I think there's a definite world where you hold on to him, because if you think about it, Tom Green is also in that midfield. So I don't, even though Callaghan might receive the tag or Tom Green might receive the tag, he could quite easily average 105, to 108, and be a pretty decent mid for us on the lower scale at the M8, M9 position for us.
Definitely. I mean, I don't think he'll end up being one of those guys that gets DPP, but I think he'll be okay. One sec. I don't know how I'm going to get Baz next week. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I could go someone like Jaden Short to Baz, but we'll see what happens. Velo, heard Baz is a lock. Yeah, 100%.
Is Caden Cleary back in your mic is off, mate? Your mic.
Sorry, fellas, I was just on the phone. Jay, should I keep Sardis in and wait the 2 weeks, or should I trade to Connor O'Sullivan? I have a theory, or I have a feeling, but what should he do, Damo? What do you reckon?
I'm keeping Sardis.
Okay.
I think, yeah, I reckon he's going to be straight back in once he's fit. He's only actually missing 1 game. Plus the bye. So so that's 2 Supercoach weeks, but 1 game. And Darcy Parish has been out of the football program at Essendon for quite a while. So it wouldn't surprise me if that's who you think comes in and Sardis stays out. It wouldn't surprise me if Parish has a few weeks in the VFL just to make sure he's completely right, because he was injured in the preseason, came back for a couple of weeks, re-injured himself, and then spent more time on the sidelines. So they will probably want to see him in the VFL. Perhaps I don't have any inside knowledge of this, but I would suggest a VFL stint may be in order.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like, it's similar to people saying, oh, Griffin Logue's just going to come straight in and few of these other players. When you've got a guy that's come back from major injuries, there's so much potential for him, even if he's fit, there's so much potential for him just to get injured again that it's like, hey, you might as well just keep him there and test out the body. And, you can take the time you can in the VFL versus, hey, if you've gone to AFL, you better perform at 100%. So, personally, I wouldn't mind it. I think it's an interesting one. If Connor O'Sullivan fits some roles that you need to fill, if you think he's going to jump up in money, then I don't mind it. Sometimes that extra 50K can do a lot for you. Like, that could be the difference between you not being able to go Stewart to like a Jordan Clark or a Bailey Dale or something as well. So Connor O'Sullivan could almost be like...
I got a question for you about Connor O'Sullivan.
Sure.
So Chris Scott has said that Reece Stanley will eventually come back. He has said he thinks that's going to happen.
Yeah, because SDK is not the best ruck, and then he needs like support. Yep, cool.
Yep. Jake Collar-Jasny is set to return. So if Reece Stanley does end up in the ruck again, and Jake Collar-Jasny does return, then where does SDK go? And then where does O'Sullivan end up? That is my only question.
I think Tom Stewart potentially plays a bit more mid-time then, but just looking at Connor O'Sullivan as a player, If he's performing, Chris Scott will keep him in the team because they need to blood those kids.
Are you sure about that?
He needs to play. I think he has a role in the team, and he just needs to play them. He did okay last week.
I personally don't trust Chris Scott.
So I think you're in the camp that like he plays a little bit and gets dropped.
I think regardless of how he performs, Chris Scott has his best 22 in his head. He knows what he wants that team to look like. He won't keep a player in the side if it undoes his structure.
Okay. Interesting.
And Supercoach is a long game. You're not bringing in a rookie for 1 or 2 weeks of price rises. You want that rookie to stay in as long as possible and get to the top of his possible price before you cash him out. If Connor O'Sullivan is gone in 2 to 3 weeks, I think he might have got to what, 200, 230k, but the way he's playing, he actually should get higher than that, and he might not even get there, and then he becomes what could be a failed pick.
Yeah, we don't. That'd be the worst case scenario, right? Another dead rookie in our teams. Like,
it's worst case scenario, but we've already spoken about Sardell Hawley, Riley Bice, Toby Travalia. Connor O'Sullivan is 100% not a must-have trade in this week for all those reasons.
Okay. Fair enough. Freddie's Super Coach. Hey, boys. How's it going, mate? I'm doing fantastic. I think Damo's probably the same. Love it. Thanks, Michael. Michael, thanks for the content, guys. Jumping Jason Horne-Francis to help me get to Dale. Or do you think another defender? Now, this is a question that I have as well, Damo. If I have to jump on the Baz train next week, can I go Horne-Francis to Lindsay this week and then have a bunch of money left over that maybe a Pal Pepper or someone turns into a Horne-Francis for me next week? Does that work out okay? So if I go Horne-Francis to Baz next week, I drop Horne-Francis to Lindsay this week, I have a bunch of money left over that I can now trade out. Or is that too much calculations? So I'll show you with my team, right?
Will you want Horne-Francis later in the season?
Potentially, but I think he's going to drop a lot of money. So this is what I'm considering with my team right now.
So you're happy to use 2 trades on 1 player?
Well, I started Horne-Francis, so it's not like I brought him in.
Yeah, but you're trading him out and then potentially going to trade him back in.
That's 2 trades on 1 player. It allows me to fix my backline, which I wouldn't otherwise be able to do this week, and get Lindsay in because I don't have the rookies to be able to do it. So let's pretend, right? Let's go. I have to have Lindsay. Cool. Kako probably goes to the forward position. I can now get, if I can spell right, Lindsay in there. Cool. So I've got all the rookies, all the midfield rookies. I don't need much else. I've got enough money. Is it crazy if I do something like, who's 2 good defenders? If I go like your boy.
What about Whitfield?
I go Jordan Clark and potentially a Whitfield, and then I've got enough money to go to Baz next week. Off potentially a Kako or someone else, or even Sam Pell Pepper makes a bit of money for me next week. I go 1 trade up to Bailey Smith.
Yeah, it could work, actually. It could work.
Because it's enough money in the bank to be able to do it. I finish off my back line. Cool, I'm happy.
And it takes a rookie off field, or it takes a big pricer off field for you.
It takes a player that's not going to be best 22. It's just going to be a pain watching Horne-Francis kick like 18 goals this week, but it is what it is. That's just Super Coach for us. I don't mind the trade, to be honest.
I don't know about trading Tom Stewart. I feel like if he plays this week, he's fine. He's fine to hold.
Potentially, but I've got in my head, hey, 1 leg knock and then he's gone. To be honest, like one little thing, he could just take like a bad tackle.
Yeah, and I have to admit, looking at your team with the trades sort of all filled out,
Mm,
It looks okay, and considering you're going to use that cash to get Bailey Smith in,
yep.
I think you do it. I think
Yeah.
you do it.
Because I'm
I don't usually like sidewaysing the primos, but in this situation, you clearly get an upgrade in all positions.
so I'm looking at potentially pattern down next week to
Yep, the
Bice,
Bice. Yep,
which would give me basically
and
200k to play with. So
yep,
any
and
player, even if Kako makes like, what's Kako's break even? If Kako scores like a 50, then I can go Kako up to Bailey, Bailey Smith or whatever, and then I'm still that's like 2 trades. It fills out
yeah,
a little bit more in the team. So maybe
yeah,
I'll do
okay,
that this week. We'll
yeah,
make that happen, guys.
all right.
Um, I quite liked Bailey Dale in the position. Would have got me a bit more money as well, but there's a few concerns around Bailey Dale, so we'll kind of see what happens there.
Yep.
Oh, that's not Damo. There he is. Cool. Supercoach God. Thursday night footy is the best. There you go. Flynn didn't get through training today. Oi, oi, oi. That's not good. 15 to 70 mils of rain predicted as well. There you go for the Gabba.
I find it so funny that that game was moved because of bad weather, and then it's going to be played in bad weather anyway.
Yep. Yeah. It's an interesting one. Give me 1 sec. I'm gonna have team sheets coming out soon, Damo. What is this? Time's flying like nobody's business. I'm just showing Joe my trades. Sorry, everybody. Jake Sharp. G'day, fellas. Good luck with the week. Thanks for the stream. Anytime, mate. We are here 5:30 every game of the season, even heading into the finals too. Double dummy, Arvo, gents. Decided to go a little crazy this week. Garcia down to Hendo. Cool. Start us up to Rosie. I like it. And then short down to Connor O'Sullivan. We've had a little bit of a talk about Connor O'Sullivan, but it's okay. Cool. Yeah, I don't mind it. Is it worth trading Gorn this week, Damo? That's kind of one of the big... If your team was fixed, if you had everything ready to go, maybe you trade one player for a Lindsay. You don't have to spend a boost. Trading Gorn to a Cherry this week, what do you reckon? He's going to jump in cash. Like, he's going to dump in cash. Like, there's a train of thought where he goes 180 on Wits just to spite him. But outside of that happening, Gorn down to a Cherry nets you 40k and then works out okay. What do you reckon?
I don't like trading premiums. After one bad game where potentially something else was happening in Max Gorn's personal life, which we won't speculate on, but I don't like trading premiums after one game. We saw Lockie Neal get traded after his 41 after being tagged, and then he came out the following week with a 133. It feels like the same move to move on Max Gorn after one poor score.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one for myself. If everything was fixed, I love Cherry. I started Gorn because we're probably never going to start him ever again. And the pick looked okay. But for right now, it's not fantastic. So makes things a bit rough. What's the timeline on Hayden Young? Does Jordan Clark struggle a little bit now in that backline, or is he a fine pick compared to a few others?
Hayden Young is a midfielder.
Okay, so nothing's going to affect Clark in terms of scoring. We should be getting 115, 120s every week. No dramas for a while, hopefully.
From Jordan Clark, I won't commit to saying yes to 115 to 120, but if you want to shoot for the stars and say that, absolutely. But should
I pick him over? Should I pick him over Dale or?
Oh, absolutely. But I'm biased.
Okay. Yep.
Did you know only 18 players on average finish with an average above 110? So when people talk about being a top 10 midfielder, a top 10 defender, a top forward, a top ruckman, and they say 110 plus average is perfectly achievable, just remember that only about 18 players each year finish with a 110 plus average.
Fair enough. Well, there you go. So like a 105, 106 in the back line is not terrible.
Exactly right.
I'm quite excited by the DPP players potentially too that we're going to get. Craig, Tressy, Arvo to the Manly Beatos. There you go. We should do a podcast, Damo, the Manly Beatos. We could do it. Beato super coach or something.
Yes, my beard tip is leave it alone.
just save the little bits here. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Shave your cheeks and leave the rest alone.
Velo says here, Thursday footy is not great for me. Footy is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Fair enough. We had this one already. Not using a boost this week. I think it's Dale for Pez and Henderson in for Sardis.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Not too bad. Just teasing. If Stu is not an out, I will have to hold, won't I? Look, I've said my piece on Stewart. I think one knock and he's out. How can you go from potential MCL to now scoring 180s? I mean, this is the 1 week syndesmosis. The 1 week syndesmosis, but yeah.
He's done it before.
I know. 1 week syndesmosis though, but it's it's a rough situation.
A few years ago, he got injured and was going to be out for 8 weeks, and then came back 2 weeks later and was perfectly fine for the rest of the season. I think it was 2022.
Yeah,
he got injured in round 3, missed round 4, and then came back with a 129, 97, and then 187. So he was perfectly fine. So he's just miraculous when it comes to injuries, and always seems to get injured in round 2 or 3 of the season.
Maybe that's the prediction. Just be like every year, Tom Stewart out round 3. It's almost like a double bye for him. Just take the bye off. That's it. Don't put him on field. Put the rookie that's going to score 20 and you'll be okay. Arvo, Manly, Beardo, Zach Reed to Freeger or Bailey Dale. Grabbing Freeger allows me to trade Bailey Smith.
Trade in Bailey Smith or trade out?
I assume it means trade in Bailey Smith because he's cheaper than Dale, so he's going to have a bit of money extra left over. I don't mind it. I think there's just a little bit of question marks on Freeger, and I'm going to say Freeger, not Fraser, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Joel Frazier's points are scored in the last quarter, and I don't know if that is sustainable for him. Plus, Bulldogs have players coming back soon in Bontempelli, and I can't think of any other name that is coming back, but I know they're missing a few. Whereas Bailey Dale just won't be affected by those guys returning. So I think you got to go Bailey Dale in this situation.
It is nice when he comes out with the cheeky 140s. The teams come out at 6:20. Yep.
About 15 minutes.
I was scared for Day as it only got like 40 points in the second half of round 0, so I didn't go there for the tag. Yeah, I mean, we said this at the start of the show, right? But Will Day. Will Day. You don't get 3 goals and 6 free kicks in the forward line every single week, and that accounted for almost a third of that score in round 0. Yeah, it was a bit rough. Yeah, and then we looked at the team sheets, and every week he's got a tag. And even clubs that don't tag are going to be like, yep, we're going to tag him. Kevin, g'day, boys. How you doing, mate? We are doing fantastic. Is Callaghan, this is another question, Callaghan going to be another Will Day, Damo? Or is it the time to rise for big Callaghan this year?
I'm a Callaghan believer. The thing about Will Day is I'm a Callaghan man. I believe that Will Day is the number 1 midfielder at Hawthorn and will be the target for the tag a lot of the time.
Yep.
Whereas I think there are other players to tag at GWS, like a Whitfield, like a Green, even like there's a bunch of players at the Giants that you want to tag before you get to Callaghan, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, fair. Feels like it's one of those players too that if you go and try and tag him, you get punished by everyone else. That it's like maybe it'll only be half a game or something because Josh Kelly or Canelio or anyone else are going to dominate. So he's going to be that sneaky like third midfielder that just scores well. Is fielding 3 rooks in defense, Reed, Pryor, and Trainer to hold Pez for next week too risky? Are we saying 3 on field or are we saying 3?
Yeah, is fielding 3.
Okay, so
with
yep.
his,
No,
yeah.
look,
Holding Perryman.
it's not for me. It's not for me. But Nick, they have they got the bye this week, right?
If there was a round, if there was a round to do it,
yeah,
this is the round to do it because it's best 18.
Yeah, you can do it. It's I assume Bice is in next week, so there you go. Velo, good to see Max is not on the floor. Yeah, I picked him up just for you. Paul Allen, afternoon legends, love your work. Thank you very much, Paul. If I move Hasty to Henderson, but that means only have 470 for a defender, or to Pez, so I have Pez, so I have trade Sardis. Look, I'm just worried about Hasty. Do you think Hasty's best 22, Damo?
Well, considering he missed last week, it would suggest that he is not.
Yeah, so probably have to ditch Hasty regardless. I think personally, I know you're not as much on the Henderson train, but I think Henderson's fantastic, and I think it's a bit rough.
I like Henderson.
To have him.
I like Henderson. I
like him too.
I just think that if the question that we had before was Nevitt or Henderson, and my answer is Nevitt, but ideally you get both.
Yep. Yeah, fair. I've had so much experience with these guys. Even if he wasn't 99k, just all the media that had come out from Melbourne saying, hey, he's going to jump in and play Neil Bullen's spot. He's going to be best 22, all these other things happening. Like, he may lose a little bit of potential with other players coming back, but I just don't see him getting dropped if he's still scoring. So,
I think he's great. And you don't swoop in and sign a guy out from under another team to then sit him in the VFL just where he was.
Yep. Yeah, it's a bit rough. So yeah, it works out all right. If you had 470k to spend on a defender, who would you pick? Is there anybody in that range? Like, you can't even go for a McCurchain. Maybe a Farrell, if you feel like Farrell might be an okay selection, but there's not really many players in that spot.
470k. Let me have a look.
Yeah, I'll go through some more questions. Pretty sure Brad Scott Parrish will play VFL. There you go. What a duo, SDS. How you doing, mate? Thank you very much for jumping on. Completely agree. Chris plays faves. There you go. And I think as well, Chris Scott just wants to play finals. You've got 1 or 2 more years left with Dangerfield. Maybe they'll blood the youth a bit more once he's gone. But yeah, it works out okay. Is it possible SDK plays forward when Stanley comes in? No, I think SDK will just go back to defense, which would mean O'Sullivan potentially moves out. Hey, Big J, just let you know for the next Tuesday evening, I will not be able to join you. Cool. Sorry, mate. Hopefully everything's doing okay, Mark. Did we find any good players we want to put in?
Look, there's not a lot of super coach household names that jump off the screen, but there is one guy that I really like the look of, and it's Darcy Wilmot. Okay. 449k, 100 against Sydney in round 1, 101 against West Coast in round 2. If that role is sustainable, 0.9 points per minute, plays almost the entire game, 113 minutes in both games. If he's got that sort of fitness and he's going to score at that sort of frequency, I don't mind him at 449k, and probably rivals the likes of your Kane Farrells and your Joel Frasers as a guy with that in that price range.
Do you think he could just a cash grab, or do you think he could be around for a bit longer?
Oh, look, I think he probably sits in a similar basket to what people were considering Will Day, Adam Chera, maybe Finn Callaghan to be. So he would be a guy that you would hope could max out at maybe 550 to 600k if he continues this sort of scoring. But who knows? It feels like there's been a changing of the guard, a changing of strategy in Supercoach this season.
Yeah, no, fair. Paul Allen saying here, O'Sullivan plays till round 7, makes 150k with an average of 68. I guess we're kind of concerned that he might not, which is a bit rough. So we'll see kind of what there. You can pick him up if you want, but you're spending the trade to bring him in. So you better hope you're downgrading from someone like a Short or a Perryman to give you some extra money to be able to move stuff around. Connor O'Sullivan could be like Jai Clark last year, coming in and out of the team as needed. Charles Zammett, hello, gents. How you doing, mate? I'm trading Horn Francis, which allows me to get both Sinclair and Baz in 1 week. Fantastic. Don't plan on getting Horn Francis back either. Happy to die on that hill. Might be a bit of a rough hill, but if we end up getting Nick Martin, Warner, and a few others, we might be okay. Imagine if Sheasel gets forward status, back from Sheasel year 1. We'll fix a lot of problems in our teams.
It would fix a lot of problems.
Imagine if Horn Francis doesn't finish top 6. Well, there you go.
Warner, Merritt, Straka.
Yeah, mate, that would be sexy. And then I don't mind trading him out this week. There's virtually no cash generation from rookies and mid-prices in defense. Yeah, apart from a Freeja. We got Bice next week. We got O'Sullivan, but a bit sucky that Reed and Trainer are probably going to be in our teams for the entire season, Damo, and they're not going to make much money, mate.
I think Luke Trainer will turn a corner eventually and score well, but I was a massive Luke Trainer fan in his draft year, so maybe I'm just a bit biased.
I think Reed has the capacity to score a 60 or a 70 in 1 week, and then we'll be okay. But he's just too skinny. In the game last week, it felt like the opposition were they'd kick to the player that Reed was on just because his defense is no good. So it made things a little bit rough.
Yes, Luke Trainer has the capacity to score really well because in the coach league he averaged 103 over 5 games, and then in the under 18 champs he scored 91 across 4 games. So he has the capacity. He just needs the role and needs the confidence and needs the experience. There could be a game coming up soon where just everything clicks for him and suddenly he's pumping out 6 and suddenly he's going 50s and 60s.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I think Trainer, there was a couple of passages of play, not so much last week, but in the first game where he got really underscored for stuff. So we'll see what happens from that. Hey, Jack, how you doing? G'day, guys. How are we? Having a crazy pod here, but looking at getting Marek in. Okay. Garcia, Sardis, and Short out for Dale, Henderson, and Marek. His role has kick-ins also. For me, it's a no. I'm not bringing in 200K mid-prices that, may get you to 300K and a little bit more when we've got guys like Lindsay and Henderson and half a dozen other players that you would assume would end up scoring better. So, yeah, don't pay too much money at the moment because the people that have 1 or 2 extra primos in their team are going to benefit a lot more in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. News that Smith is a lock now. There you go. Sard is also sub, lads. Well, there you go. We get a bit of a look, but kind of sucky there. Rookie coach. God damn it, Jay. If I go Horn, Francis, Stu, and Pez, I can get Sinclair, Whitfield, and Baz. Mate, that's what I told you. Get him in. Stuff Horn Francis. Get out of town. North Melbourne's better. Does Trav potentially lead to Sinclair playing more midfield minutes? He's got to play somewhere, I suppose.
Well, yeah, but Liam Stock is out.
There you go. Probably straight for Stock up. I like Sinclair. The DPP is nice, but I've decided to go for Winfield. Maybe I'll change it up before the game. They both do play later on in the weekend. Whitfield, it's just the durability for me, Damo. Sinclair will do whatever he wants. He can get good stuff. He's got a good buy round, which works out nice. But Whitfield, man, every time he gets that knock, it's just is he going down for the rest of the game or is he going to bounce back up, mate? I'm a little bit worried with the Whitfield.
You talk about Whitfield's durability, but Sinclair missed 4 weeks of the preseason with a calf injury. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good comparison.
Nah, fair enough. Paul Allen, if you could pick one this week, Flanders, Whitfield, Sinclair, it probably wouldn't be Flanders. I'm just not seeing how he's going to fit into the team. I've gone Whitfield. I know GWS's run. Maybe if you can pull up DFS, we'll have a look at it. But GWS's run for halfbacks over the next few weeks is pretty juicy. Rosie VC into McRae C or McRae VC into Brayshaw C this week, Damo. I quite like the McRae VC.
I like McRae VC. Yep, I've gone with McRae VC.
Even if you go McRae into someone like a Zorko or a Whitfield or someone else, I think it would work out okay. But McRae VC, he's so good. He's got like 140, 160 the last 2 weeks I think he's an okay pick. Gents, I can go SDK to Whitfield or Sinclair. Be a good move, or give Sinclair give SDK another week with a break even of 20. Trade him out or keep him? What do you reckon?
If you can go up to a Whitfield or Sinclair now, I think you do it.
Okay. Jump on it. Are you holding Sardis or Foss? I got rid of both last week. Damo is keeping Sardis. It's going to make you a bit of money, and maybe there's, if there's a world where trading Sardis into somebody costs you a boost and it's not necessary, you can totally see where you just don't spend the boost. Give me a reason not to trade Sanders, Damo. I'll pull up the team sheet.
I cannot. I simply can't.
Yeah. It's one of those picks that I wish, I'm very glad I didn't get sucked into it a little bit, because it's just not worked out that well. Dale versus... sorry.
I almost started Sanders, and I'm so glad that I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. Dale versus Whitfield. Which one are you picking? Or both? Because Dale's just cheaper, so you can pick Dale.
I probably Whitfield.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dale presents good value at the lower end of the premium price.
Oh, there you go. Wanted to trade short this week for Dale, but brought in Callaghan, Lindsay, and Henderson. Fair enough. Cool. There's a world where short does okay, because St Kilda gives up a lot of points to halfbacks. They're not that accurate, so there's a lot of ball coming out of defense, but definitely stuff to work out for. Does Rosie get tagged by Durham? Potentially, which is why I'm not as keen on the VC. Port will tag themselves with William Drew, but Rosie's gone on fire the last 2 weeks, and Brad Scott needs to prove something. So there's no one else really to tag. Mark, Perryman, Stewart, and Sanders for Dale, Winhanger, and Bice, leaving $253K or $253. I don't think that works. I don't mind it, but just remember Bice doesn't play this week. So, yeah, if you can get someone else in, you'll be okay. Yeah, maybe not Windhager. Yeah. Yaron, this is probably the last one before we pull up the team sheets. Love your trades, Big J. I've gone something similar. Horn, Francis, Day, and Berry. Okay. So Sinclair, Callaghan, and Lindsay. Nice. Backline is Shees, Zorko, Dale, Sinclair, Roberts, and Short. Nice work, nice work. And you'll get a bit of money there, similar to what I've done, but just a week a little bit too late. But you get the short scoring, so it doesn't matter too much. We're going to check out the team sheets now. Hopefully they've dropped. Otherwise, it will be a little bit awkward. Well, let me just refresh. Okay, cool. We got some team sheets. So, Jordan Ridley in, Sard in. Do you think Jordan Ridley in makes Zach Reed a better pick this week? Just having a little bit more stability, and maybe Reed can intercept and not have to go as hey, I've got to take the best defender or second best defender.
Yeah, I liked how Zach Reed was scoring before Ridley went off injured the other week. So I think Zach Reed might do okay tonight.
Nice. Archie Perkins in, Sardis out, Sard in. I think he's the sub, according to some people. We'll see. Asava in, Soldo in. Wow, okay. Cool. Tom Cochran in, Jones, Burton, and Lukosia's out. Tom Cochran debut game. Who's your pick for this one? Because we need to do our tips, Damo. We haven't done any tips this week.
I'm going...
Guys, don't forget your tips either, because we haven't done tips yet. So
I'm going Port Adelaide by 20 points.
Okay, cool. Port Adelaide 20 points. You reckon? Who's going to be the big kicker in that game?
The big kicker?
Yeah, Port Adelaide. Where's the difference of power going to come from for them?
I can see a bounce back game from Horn Francis.
Okay, mate, you can't say that because I've got rid of him.
I can, and I will, and I have.
Fair enough. Josh Sin would have been an okay pick too in that back line, but last week was a lot better than the week before last week. Carlton, ooh, here we go. I heard this was a bit of a potential news there. Jordan Boyd, Francis Evans in, Camporelli, Cooper Lord out. Bit of a rough one for everyone who's got Camporelli, but I think he'll be okay.
In what world was Camporelli and Cooper Lord the problem with what Carlton were doing?
Exactly. In what world is Francis Evans coming in like an actually good pick? Like, I think Voss just needs to make a cull when he's picked on the 18-year-old player that's played 2 weeks.
I don't think changing the bottom 2 or 3 players in your best 23 is going to change the result. You got to make a proper change to get the team going, you know?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Do we even get a good loophole in the midfield now from this game? Potentially someone like a Kako if he's in your midfield. Liam Jones, James O'Donnell, so definitely a backline resurgence there. Jeray and Arthur Jones out. Nice to see O'Donnell back in after getting smashed by North Melbourne in round 1. Who's your pick for this game? We're going to go Western Bulldogs, smash Carlton, and Voss get sacked.
It's at Marvel Stadium, so I'll go with the Western Bulldogs.
They're both home ground. Yeah, it's both their home ground.
Yeah, Carlton's more an MCG team, though.
Okay, so Doggies?
Yeah.
All right, Doggies are in. They are currently the favourites as well. Though there's a huge discrepancy between AFL tipping and then ESPN tipping. So maybe that's something there. Heading over to Melbourne versus Gold Coast. Stephen May, Aiden Johnson in. Big J is happy. Jack Billings, Melcham, Harvey Langford, Matthew Jefferson out. We knew that one. Charlie Spargo out as well. Woden out, mate. They're culling everybody after the North Melbourne loss. I tell you what. And then Daniel Turner and Blake Howes out. Mac Andrew, Jed Walter, Sam Flanders debut game for the year. Cool. Ballard, Ainsworth, and Sexton out. So if this was last year, Sexton out, would all be complaining. Nice to see big Aiden Johnson named at half forward. Damo, he's in my team, so it's working out okay. Who's your pick for this game?
I think Melbourne break their duck egg.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with Melbourne as well. They are not favorited, which is interesting. I think guys like Ethan Reid are going to end up making themselves almost a must-haves in his team. Maybe he goes big, but I'm hoping Max Gawn has a big week. I'll be very upset if he does not. It's nice to see Aiden Johnson there on field after the suspension. So he'll end up second rucking, hoping for a 60-odd from him in our forward lines. St Kilda versus Richmond. Here we go. Tom Lynch is back. Cooper Sharman, Trevelyan in, Liam Stocker, Hunter Clark out. Wow, that's a bit rough. Trevelyan first game.
He was injured, so yeah,
Hunter,
with an abdominal injury. So yeah, he unfortunate for him.
Go back to the gym, just get those abs worked out. Tom Lynch, Sonzi in, and then Banks and force it out. Banks definitely got smashed last week too. Jaden Short hanging out here at half back. Hopefully he helps the people that actually kept him in their teams, which Big J did not. I assume St Kilda is your pick, and we're talking about Jack McRae as potential VC option this week.
Yeah, St Kilda should win this.
Yeah. Do you think the Richmond going big in round 0 was Richmond going big in round 0, or a little bit of a culmination of Carlton just being terrible at AFL?
Hard to say. I think that with young teams, they're always going to be up and about early in the season. And even when the result wasn't going their way and Carlton were, 40 points up at one point or whatever it was, Richmond still looked okay. So I think I thought before the result turned that Richmond wouldn't be a 0-win team this year, and obviously, and then they won that game. So, I think they're not going to be as bad as what people think, but there's going to be some issues with them being such a young team.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, Brisbane almost lost to West Coast last week, so anything can happen in AFL world if you have a good week and the opposition does not. Heading over to UTAS Stadium on Saturday. Luke Bruce in, Connor McDonald out. All right. Stringer, Hogan, and Briggs in. Oh, Briggs is in. There we go. Callum Brown out. Gruziski out. I think that's a bit rough. James Leake out. Where's big Connor Stone? He's hanging around here somewhere. He's on the bench. That's good for me because he's still in my team. Who's your pick for this game?
I have tipped Hawthorn, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went the other way.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, with Bruce back into the team, it might mean that James Sicily plays a little bit more backline than playing forward again. So could end up being a bit of a thing. Might get some decent scoring from him. I've only got Lockie Whitfield in this team. Callaghan is named. Where's Callaghan? Let me try and find him. Callaghan on the wing. We've got Stone on the
be on the wing.
Let's go Hawthorn. I think they're going to go 4-0. They might even just win the minor premiership after like 10 weeks. I tell you what, they are a decent side. Brisbane versus the Cats. Here we go. Bailey Smith's in.
No,
Charlie
Tom
Cameron's
Stewart.
in.
Oh no, Tom Stewart's there. He didn't
he's there.
Or anything.
He's there. He's there. Connor O'Sullivan's named as well.
Yep.
Charlie Cameron in, Lohman in, McKenna out. Okay, there goes Dane Zorko's going big, boys. No, he was already big, but he's gone bigger. Connor McKenna out, Will McLaughlin out. Unlucky, mate. One game and then back to the Magoos.
How did McLaughlin get omitted and Bruce Reville keep his spot?
Who knows? Maybe he likes the hair. Who knows, man?
I mean, I love Bruce Reville, but I don't think he deserves to be omitted over Will McLaughlin.
Yeah, fair.
Sorry, kept in the side over Will McLaughlin, whatever. Whatever you want to say.
At least Bailey Smith gets his second game for people that don't own him. They get a second look.
Hopefully, no Mark O'Connor, so no tag.
No tag. There you go. Josh Dunkley's gone big. Yeah, you would assume, right, that we'd at least get a second look. Maybe Bailey's. Is there a score, Damo? Do you have Bailey Smith in your team at the moment?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Is there a score that if Bailey Smith scores, you wouldn't bring him in this week? Like if he came out and scored a 50 and you were just like, oh, round one was an apparition. You know, he's not that good of a player. If they play a better team, they're going to be shitty. Is there a time when, okay, that's the right mindset to have? Or is it just get Bailey Smith in next week? It doesn't matter.
Okay, so for me to be worth it at the price, he needs to probably go at least 90.
Okay. Well, he'll need to go that to be a keeper in the forward line anyway, right? So,
well, I mean, a few years ago, Lincoln McCarthy was a top 20 forward, averaging 77 or something. So I don't think you have to average a lot to be a top forward in Supercoach, but ideally a 90 plus average is what you'd aim for. Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. If he gets to 90s in my team, I just need to see him another game because he was everywhere in that first game and just felt a bit unfair for the opposition. So definitely one for me to watch. Here we go.
I'm tipping Brisbane.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, we'll do Brisbane tips. We're going with all the favourites this week. Bit rough. Here we go. Adelaide versus North Melbourne. It's my boys. Billy Dowling in. Luke Nankervis. Toby Murray in. I don't know where Toby Murray's going to play. Is he brother of Nick Murray? Do we know if that's the case?
Yeah, he is. Let's be honest, though. These guys are just extended bench. Then I doubt that any of these guys played.
Yeah.
Crows were awesome. North were awesome. Unchanged lineup. You don't need to make any changes.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, Hardiman's not named on the bench. The entire team's there. Even Toby Pink's still playing. Maybe he's the one that gets dropped for Cal Dawson or something. But even Toby Pink's game last week wasn't terrible. So Finn Barmaley named as debutant. I don't think he's going to debutant, though. I think they're going to go... was it... I have a feeling it was Constanti. No. Constanti is sub last week, potentially? Can't remember. Who was the sub for North? Sorry, everybody. Give me one
sub last week was... I have it right here. Sub for North was Dylan Stevens.
Okay, so so potentially Dylan Stevens sub again. So maybe it is just unchanged lineup. This is not the right one. What have I done? Sorry, technical difficulties. There we go. Who's your pick for this game?
Adelaide Oval, so Adelaide.
Okay, fair. What if this game was at Marvel? Would it change to North, or we just leave it as it is?
The form of the last 2 weeks would make me seriously consider tipping an upset for North Melbourne, but I still think I would go with the Crows. Just
okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think North is a good team, but Adelaide at home with the form that they have, like they brought in Cumming, they brought in a few other players who just fill holes that they need. And on a good day, Isaac Rankin and Ben Keys are going to rip us new buttholes. So even Phil Thorpe, like it could just be kick straight to him and kick 6. So yeah, Nick Larkey is leading the Coleman heading into this week. He's got 8 goals, which is great, but he might not be leading the Coleman after this week. So yeah, a bit of a rough one. I'm going to go North Melbourne losing, but if they win, it's good, right? Because I get the tip if they lose, and then if they win, I feel happy. So it's like it works out fine. As long as the team plays and does better, I'm okay. Last game of the weekend, West Coast Eagles. Mate, there is a sneaky in. I don't know if you can see that sneaky in right there, Super Coach God. Woo!
Yeah, but there's another sneaky in of Jack Williams.
Jack Williams is in too. Matt
So
Flynn, he's named at number 4 though.
So there's 3 ruckmen that in that team. 4 ruckmen because of
4 ruckmen. 4 ruckmen. Yeah, he might not be named. Graham, Flynn, Bo out. Well, there you go, Bo Allen. And then Williams in, Petricelli out. Bo Allen debut game. You'd assume Bo Allen may not play. Who would you pick out of the if you were the person, if you were the captain, if you were the coach? Who would you pick out of there, right? You would assume Hewitt has to play.
You would assume Hewitt plays.
Dewar plays. Dewar did quite well for them last week.
Yeah, I think Hewitt, Hall, and Dewar play, and then it would be
might be like Bo Allen sub.
I think Long is out from the extended bench. I don't think Jack Williams makes the final cut. Maybe Bo Allen doesn't make the final cut. Oh, look, it's hard. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know enough about their team, to be honest.
Yeah. Velo saying here, Flynn, Allen, and Jay Williams would be emergency, surely.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
And your boys. Do you want to go through the ins and outs for your boys this week?
All right. So Isaiah Dudley, Carl Warner, Liam Reedy, and James Aish comes in. Only confirmed out so far is Brandon Walker. I think Carl Warner comes in for Brandon Walker, and I think it would be cruel to name Isaiah Dudley, so I wouldn't be surprised if he is named to debut. I don't know who goes out.
Have they done a? They normally do like the presser where all the players get around and they say, "Hey, you're playing this week." Have they done that for him or not really?
That won't happen until tomorrow.
So there's 50-50 chance. But if it was done like Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday, then you'd know he's a definite in.
Yeah.
Who do you reckon's bench for you guys? Patrick Voss did all right on the weekend.
I think it's Johnson. I think Dudley's in. So Johnson, Dudley, Voss, Warner, and Draper. And then I think Banfield, Reedy, and Aish go out.
Makes me how long's Darcy away for? How many more weeks until
So Sean Darcy is back next week, same as Hayden Young.
So if you had Luke Jackson in your team, you'd been okay because he would have been solo ruck like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. So it's not terrible. Tell us about Corey Wagner, former North Melbourne player. I don't care that he used to play at Melbourne as well, but former North Melbourne player. A few people have him as that sneaky pod in their teams. He's been scoring all right. Hey,
he's been sneaky. He's been a sneaky player. He's been all right at 341k, but I think he's the one who's likely to now match up on the small forwards which is why they've probably brought in Carl Warner to take his halfback role.
Okay. Fair enough. Guys, if you haven't already, smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, jump over to Damo Super Coach, footy mailbag as well. Yeah, a lot of good stuff there. Let's jump through some of the questions. We've got a few questions left. Epic BW. Would you upgrade rookie Smith? Would you upgrade a rookie to Smith or upgrade SDK to Whitfield or Sinclair this week? I personally like the second one. I think that give Smith another week, considering he's not on the bubble. Hey, Jay, you North specialist, legend, and Damo footy, Freo specialist, legend. Blokes misses LDU. Look, I don't think LDU will be top 10. I think he's just going to be out of the top 10. There's a lot of players in North Melbourne now who are going to be sharing the ball. And I think our top 10 is going to look very different than what it is at the moment once Butters and Bont and a few other players come back. So I think he'll just miss out. He'll probably score a 108. So if you can expect that, then you're okay there. Lockie Ash Pod, 100%. Ben, hope you guys are doing well. Yep, doing fantastic. Hexosism, I'm in a pickle. Pez, Short, and Foss and Sardis. He's got all four. Want to hold Short for Stewart when he drops in value. Cool, so Stewart's going down. However, I don't have Levi. I need to get Hendo in, but that would leave me 516. Wow, okay. Yeah. You could go early on a Bice if you want to, as long as it doesn't screw up your structure too much, because he is going to play next week, hopefully. You could go O'Sullivan, but we've spoken a little bit about, look, I think he's an okay pick. Damo thinks he might get dropped or get moved around a bit too much. So, yeah, kind of your two options in defense. I'm okay with holding Short for 1 week as well. St Kilda gave up a lot of points to halfback. So, yeah. Jake Bowie's also sitting at 390k. Damo was looking at him. Jake Bowie, yes or no, or a bit kind of up in the air?
I see Jake Bowie more as a draft selection.
Okay. Yep. No, that's fair. Go. Yep. There you go, Ben. Does Coleman hurt Wilmot when he comes back?
Well, Coleman's out for a little while yet, so probably not.
Doesn't really matter.
I would say Coleman comes back through the VFL.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. He's a similar situation to a Parrish and whatnot, right? Like, it's just this guy, every time he comes back on field, he gets injured. Let's not bring him back again and force him to play, and then, he's going to get injured again. At least run him through the VFL for a few games. Guys, trading Perryman to Dale, Stewart to Bice, and Sanders to Winhager. Or did we do this one already? I think we did this one already.
Yeah, I think we did that one already.
Yeah. Doubt Stanley will play soon. Absolutely awful in the VFL. One like 10 hit-outs went 40% efficiency. Feel like SDK should be safe. Look, I think SDK is going to be safe, but I think who's playing this week? Give me 1 sec. Not Humphreys. What's the player's name? 1 second. Sam de Conning. I think Guthrie and Mark Blitzarves take a little bit of that ruck time as well. So he's not solo ruck. He's got a backup, which we knew was always going to happen. And against Big O, SDK is not going to play solo ruck. Like, he'll just get monstered. Big O's a beast. Hey, lads, should I boost for Freeja or bank the cash and grab Bailey Smith hopefully next week? Or straight boost and get him now? I think wait a week on Baz. And if you don't have to spend the boost to get him in, don't do that. Trevelyan and Sard could be our saviors. I think Trevelyan is too expensive and has had some injury concerns. So couple of bad hits and he's not going to be great. Sard potentially. But there's a lot of midfield downgrade rookies. So, yeah, we might just have to hold Trainer and Reed for a little while. If you've got Bice at D6, I think you're fine for a while. Ben, started track as a pod this year. Should I be worried, stressed, Damo?
No, I think he'll be okay, but Simon Goodwin needs to play him in the midfield because he's a midfielder.
But we like him in Supercoach in the forward line because then he gets DPP and then he can play in the midfield. So it works out better.
Yeah, get DPP and then move to the midfield.
Yeah, done. Squeak, sorry, I did not miss you. I missed you, but I read your comment. No one's talking about Rao. So there's a few of these sneaky Gold Coast players, Damo. We've got Ethan Reed. We've got Rao. I don't think Noah Anderson scored as well last week or the week that he played. But if you could jump on one of these players now, would it be okay for a while, do you think? Rao could go like massive. He could go 130 in his first like 6 weeks of the season.
I like Rao, but I think I like Noah Anderson more.
Okay. Is that what? Why is that? Like speed, pace, the fact that he's the captain? What's kind of the thinking behind it?
I think Noah Anderson has a more sustainable gameplay style.
Okay. Fair enough. Hey, gents, very torn. How you doing, Cameron? Do I go Perryman and Sanders to Frieger and Rankin, or Dale, and any mid-price rookie forward? I would probably go Frieger and Rankin. I think you've got more of a chance to have 2 potential keepers in your team, and Rankin is very good versus Dale and then having to spend more trades. So at least you're going 2 guys that you know, Perryman and Sanders to Frieger and Rankin. You could potentially be going 2 mid-prices to 2 keepers in your team. Hopefully Frieger keeps his scoring and whatnot. So I like that one a lot better. Dale's great, but you know, if he's scoring 20 points more than Frieger at 150k less, it's not terrible. And you get Rankin. Brisbane's run. Hi Kai, how you doing? The review crew on Monday, guys. Brisbane's run for Desi kickers. Mate, they got Desi kickers in their team. Oh, there you go. Desi kickers is cracked for the next 6 weeks. Yeah, Zorko is in my team, and I'm very happy. Afternoon, fellas. Top 3 rucks. I still think Max Gawn's there. I'm going to go Cherry number 1. I'm going to go potentially TDK, and then Max Gawn. Who's your top 3, Damo? Is that pretty fair to say those 3?
Let me have a look.
And I know, Kai, you were saying designated kickers. I know. I just made it.
I think Cherry, DeConning. I think Max Gawn falls out. I think number 3 will probably be Darcy Cameron.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think of Horn Francis the Simpkin? Look,
no,
I'm not a big Simpkin fan. I think he's going to drop in price again. I think he's going to end up being super cheap again. I think you might as well just go to Baz and wait the week or trade him out, use the money, do something else, get Baz in next week. I think he's going to be better picked than Simpkin. Lucas Camporelli has been omitted. There you go. Campo omitted. No way he's dropped. I think hopefully he's back next week after Voss gets the sack or gets booted or, you know, whatever. Could be a late in if there's an injury. But we'll see. Do we need trade out Campo for Sardis? So keep Sardis and then trade out Campo. Look, I think he's going to play. If Sardis does what you need him to do, I think trade him still. I think Campo's still going to play. I think he's still going to be a good pick. Could totally see a world where he comes in next week. So there's already backlash for him coming in. Evans is a joke. Another Voss love child selected. Yeah, Evans was not great in the last week that he played as well. Damo, do you think it's a case of, hey, Voss is trying to keep his job, so now he's throwing in all these experienced players into his team?
I mean, we said it when we went through the job security. I don't know if swapping out the bottom 3 guys in your best 23 every single week is going to change the result of a game too much.
Yep, I get that. Earlier today, Damo called Spargo out. Yeah, I heard that as well. I think someone else had called Spargo out a couple of days ago. Sam Flanders, full forward. Mate, they had Caleb Daniel at ruck at one point, so I don't think it's going to matter too much. But this is why we don't bring him in like straight away. He's going to be a good pick, but just don't bring him in straight away because we don't know where these guys are playing and what their effectiveness is going to be. He's coming back from a few things. Guys, what do you think on Melbourne's Jack Bowie for the back line? I think there's better selections, and as Damo says, he's probably good for draft, but not in Supercoach. Is Pal Pepper for Levi Ashcroft worth the trade, Damo? Because you're spending the trade. Do you think they're going to have like comparable scoring? is the 25K. Well, it's not even 25K. It's actually more expensive to go to Levi Ashcroft.
I mean, if you don't have Levi Ashcroft, you need Levi Ashcroft. But I don't know if Powell Pepper is. I don't know if Powell Pepper to Levi Ashcroft is the trade to do.
Mm-hmm. Mate, I'm just looking at my team. I absolutely love all the green dots in my side. It's beautiful. Who would you put on field, Damo? Lindsay or Nevitt? Or Henderson? You can pick. You have to pick two of the three.
Lindsay and Nevitt.
So no Henderson this week.
No, but stick the E on him.
Okay, cool. That works. Because Camporelli's currently got there, so I can do that. See how it works out. Flynn, yep, there you go. Sarden, Cochrane, Subs, there you go. Wagner looks a likely type for sure, Velo says. There you go. What do you think of M. Reid? Murphy Reid? Yep. What's the go with Murphy Reid? Seems to be a...
If you asked me before the season started, I thought his job security was awful. But after the last 2 weeks, I don't want him out of the side ever again.
Okay. Yep. He's been a good player. Been a fantastic player.
His ball use is
mid-time as I thought.
No, but his ball use is very good. So his rookie scores are saved by having such good disposal efficiency.
There you go. Nevitt or M. Reid on field.
Also, Isaiah Dudley confirmed to debut.
Oh, well, there you go. Dudley's in, boys. We can make Harry Potter jokes all day. Dudley's playing. Nevitt or Murphy Reid this week on field?
Reid. Only because Geelong and Brisbane is in the wet.
Yep. He loves the wet big Murphy Reid. Luca, how you doing, mate? I have Neil. Should I trade him out this round to afford Rankin? No. Keep him. I see Anderson getting tagged over Rao. Probably. It feels hard to tag Matt Rao. He's a bit big.
I've just seen Matt Rao start with 130s to start the season and then just randomly start pumping out 80s for the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Paul Allen, must have O'Driscoll and Lindsay. Already have Ashcroft. Look, they're very, very good players, and the break even is very low, and the job security is very high. Paul.
I would say you definitely do, but it looks like you've got a nice set of cash generators there. So you probably need at least one of those two guys.
Yeah, they're going to be very, very good.
Yeah, and my vote would be O'Driscoll, but I'm biased.
So I'm just fixing up my loopholes. We're going to do captains, guys, after all your questions. So probably got about 10 minutes left, guys, if you want. We'll go through captains after the rest of the questions. And then, we'll head off after that. Probably around 7. Baked. There's a name I haven't heard from a while. Big J, my brother, mate, I'm doing fantastic. Joe is off watching Essendon. Potentially getting smacked this week. They did last week, and he still showed up, so no worries there. Shannon, how you doing, mate? Guys, who's your pick for captain? Yep, there you go. We'll do that just after this. Evans played horrible in the VFL as well and then still made it into the seniors. So maybe Voss is on his last 2 halves. Who sees? Luca, should I trade Horn-Francis for Rankin and Neil for Dawson or Sarong? Look, I understand the Horn-Francis to Rankin. Potentially, it's probably a better pick, but keep Neil. Neil's still very good. Moved Gorn to Cherry and got TDK. Okay. Hendo bench, cash cow. Hendo is fantastic. Fading O'Sullivan this week, getting ready to bite me in the ass. Look, we get bites next week, so I don't know how much of a bite it's going to be. It's just going to suck seeing him on field, probably take a few intercepts or not doing much. Both debutants are subs. There you go. Should I trade Chera for Callaghan and hold Ghost Garcia? No, I would not trade Chera to Callaghan and hold. I'll probably trade Garcia to someone else because he's going to drop a lot in cash. Do I keep my boost or trade out Jaden Short now? Look, I reckon give him 1 week. I think you can go him to Baz pretty easily and then go a forward rookie into Bice and make some money. So I think that might be the play, Mark. Short might be okay at Marvel versus St Kilda, who give up a lot of points to picks. Maltesing asks here, Damo, I have 570k. What mid should I pick? I quite like Dawson.
Dawson.
Who should not? That's my pod, so don't steal my Dawson. He's a good player.
All right, fine. I'll go for someone else. Let me have a look.
Yep. It didn't pick Zorko as the weather. Look, I still like Zorko. I think he'll be okay. Zach, Big J, how are we? I'm fantastic. Doing okay. Miss Joe a little bit. Well, we've got Damo here. Can't complain. Having a lot of fun. Paul,
if you didn't have the buy next week, I would have said Jai Newcomb.
Yep.
I like Ed Richards at 531k.
Yep. I like Ed Richards too. He'd be a sneaky pod, I think. Still pod status. Need to fix my defense line, don't we all, Paul? Not sure if I go 1 or 2 primos. 2 primos will need Whitfield, Sinclair, and Dale. Is it okay to miss Driscoll or Lindsay this week? Probably not, right? They're both best 22. They're going to make you a bunch of money. They're probably going to get to 400k at least. I think, Paul, keep a Jaden Short, keep a Perryman if you have to. Grab the primos first. So grab the rookies first. You always chase the rookies. Grab the rookies first, and then do whatever you need to do for the rest. That would be the plan. What's your thoughts on splitting Neil and getting a rookie into? Look, Neil is going to be best top 8, or top 10 at least. It just sucks he had a bad first week. That's all. So he might bounce back 140 this week versus Geelong, and then you're like, oh, I wish I didn't trade him. So there you go. Going VC Rosie into McRae. Cool. Nice work. I'm doing Stu, Rankin, Flynn. Cool. And Flynn. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Nice. I don't mind it. And this is the beautiful thing about having Flynn as the flex that a lot of people had a lot of fun with last week, where, didn't score that well the first week. Well, he scored an 87. Let's be fair. Got dropped, and then now he's turned into a lot of these players. So it works out quite nice. Any idea who to trade Garcia for with around 300k, or is it have Davidson? Forward rookies, Damo. Must have forward rookie. Who are we looking at? Paco could be okay, but I think he's not going to be that great.
So I would say that
Thompson's
Hewitt,
okay.
Davidson,
A bit rough, isn't it?
Powell Pepper's break even is 0, so whatever he scores this week, he'll make money.
Yep.
Connor Stone. Connor Stone. Jeez.
There's not that many, unfortunately.
Maybe should have started with 3 mid primos. The forward and back line.
Is Murphy Reed a forward?
No, he's not.
Okay. Maybe he'll get forward status at some point too. You could go someone like an Archer Reed, Luca. I would even go an Ethan Reed. If you wanted to have a super pod, I would go Ethan Reed. First week score, let me pull up the season stats for Ethan Reed. Round 1 scored a 100. So it could be a nice pick for them and someone to root for in the Gold Coast. Oh, and then Velo's saying here, Bailey Humphrey is 270. So you could go Bailey Humphrey as well. Uncle Akka, how you doing, mate? Saying Maltesing, go Libba instead if you want to go for a pod. Jimmy asks here, is Farrell a good pick? What do you reckon?
It seems like Farrell's the one getting the Dan Houston role, so maybe he is. I don't buy into it. I mean, I've got Farrell in a draft league, and I'm very happy, but I don't know if I'd ever pick him in Classic.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Just having a look at some of the captaincy ideas for this week. Anyone from Essendon, Port Adelaide you would pick? Probably no one from Essendon, but if you had a Connor Rosie, you could go VC.
No one from Essendon. Not Zach Merritt.
Well, how many people own Zach Merritt? Let's be honest. Zach Merritt's ownership is probably like 5. Let's have a quick look.
I know at least 2 people who own Zach Merritt. Actually,
Yeah,
I
but
know
if
at
you
least
know two people out of five,
I know at least 3 people that own Zach Merritt. Actually,
I'm trying to. How do you figure out ownership? Give me a sec. 8% of teams. Okay. So you could go Zach Merritt if you wanted to go Zach Merritt, I suppose. Rosie potentially is one there. Could go like a Libba or Ed Richards versus Carlton's probably going to smack him around.
yep.
Anyone from the
Hey,
Melbourne Suns game for vice captain? So
even TDK against Tim English.
TDK versus Tim English. There you go. Melbourne versus Suns.
I'm skipping this game entirely.
Yeah, fair. And then this is probably what we try and say, Saturday afternoon is probably the cliffhanger. I mean, best 18 is a little bit different, but Saturday afternoon is probably the cliffhanger for vice captains generally, unless there's a really good matchup on the Sunday. McRae vice captain is probably the safest position to go this week, I think. If you haven't gone a Rosie or a Zach Merritt, McRae vice captain's just on fire. I've gone McRae. And then Hawks versus Giants. Any captaincies from Hawks versus Giants?
No, I don't think I'd trust anyone in that game either.
Yep. Brisbane versus Geelong. Well, if you had Dunkley or Zorko in your team, which one would you pick? Or Neil? Which one out of the 3 would you pick as captain?
I'd probably go Zorko. If I didn't have Zorko, I'd go Neil, and then if I didn't have Neil, I'd go Dunkley.
Okay, so this is probably my captaincies anyway. Is McRae into Zorko, just depending on how good McRae goes. North versus Adelaide. If you don't have, anyone from this game, I think you could go quite well with like a Dawson type. Seems to do quite well in our, versus us. Anyone from? I'm assuming you're expecting a bit of a blowout, right? Freo versus West Coast. Could you get away with the Brayshaw and Sarong, you reckon?
Yeah, probably could. You haven't mentioned Tristan Sherry as an option against Riley O'Brien.
No, that's fair. But Rob, how's Rob versus opposition mids? I feel like he's someone that likes to knock them around a little bit.
He hasn't really been tested the first few weeks because he's gone up against Harry Boyd in round 1 and then was up against whatever the cohort was for Essendon that week, Sam Draper. So hasn't exactly been tested yet. And we saw what Tristan Sherry did to Max Gawn. So I think I think Tristan Sherry is going to be a pretty good captaincy option.
Okay. Fair enough. So do you guys think, I assume that you're going to smack West Coast is kind of the theory? You'd hope?
You freaking hope so.
You hope so. Who would you pick from Freo? Like if Graham's back, someone's getting tagged. Who would you pick from Freo?
Graham's back, so he'll probably go to Sarong, so I would go for Brayshaw.
Would you go Jordan Clark?
Not as a captain. No.
Okay. Fair enough. Last couple of questions, guys. Before we head off, Voss is the most useless coach in the AFL. There you go. Tom Edwards, I would probably wait a week. I don't think he's played 2 games. Is Stewart named? Stewart is currently named. If I pull up the team lineups. 1 second.
Named at centre half backs, Jimmy.
Yeah. Tom Stewart is named right here on the bench, so no worries there. Captain Dawson or Brayshaw this week. Look, I quite like Dawson, to be honest, but North's Adelaide's going to test North's midfield, so yeah, we'll see what happens there. I did Pal Pepper for Garcia. I think he'll kick a bag tonight. We're not talking Hugo, right? You're saying the other way around, Luca. It's just that Garcia to Pal Pepper. I think he'll do okay. If Pal Pepper gets someone like Zach Reed, boy, oh boy, it's going to be fun to watch. Is Neil and Zorko safe from a tag this week? Well, as we see here, O'Connor is not named. So unless he's a late in, 1 or 2 of them is going to be safe. So we should be okay. Stuart will miss 1 to 2. Well, Daz Bra, he's named on field. So unless he's a late out, whatever happens. Ben, thank you, lads. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thanks, Sean. Fellas, good stuff. There you go. Get some food in your bodies, guys, before the Essendon game. Great show. Go Bombers. Hope it's a win. Well, you'll let us know, Mark. So we'll see what happens there. If Short gets less than 125 against St Kilda, he's out of my side for good. He'll probably never be a must-have either in our teams. Bose can do a job on Neil with a run with tag. Yeah, that's fair.
Neil's more likely to get himself out of a run with than he is than a tag.
Yes, yeah. I think so too. Remember, Geelong is good at late out changes. There we go. Damo, where can everyone find you if they haven't already? Where can I tell the fans, hey, like, share, subscribe to all your content?
So all my content is at Footy Mailbag on pretty much every social media, at the Footy Mailbag, I should say. Thefootymailbag.net is our website where you can find all of the links to our content, socials, podcast feed, all of that. If you want to follow me specifically, that it is at DamoSC on Twitter. And yeah, that's where you find me.
Nice, guys. Remember, we've got our team reviews coming out on Sunday, rookie review crew on Monday, members live stream on Tuesday, and then the drive home. Joe will be back next week. Let me quickly check so I don't put my foot in it. But no, let me quickly check. Fixture, round 4 fixture. Joe will be back next week because Essendon does not play Thursday. Guys, it's been a fun one. There you go. Hit the like button. Cheers, fellas. Have a great round. Remember, Supercoach is fun, but don't do your head in. Catch you next time.